My name is Ryan Senn. I'm married to Sharon Senn. We have two kids, Shay and Brianna, and we have been coming to the bridge since the bridge was formed. As I tell my story, there's going to be a lot of people involved, but my ultimate goal is that you look past all of us and see what Christ did through every step of our story. I called Sharon, told her that I was positive. I was the first one in our family to get sick. So we just had the back of the house set up for me to stay back there by myself. The first couple days were just body aches. Day 3 and 4 were migraines. You know, I have a whole nother outlook on migraines now. I've never had much of a headache, much less a migraine. So now when my wife says, "Oh, I have a migraine," you know, I'm like, you know, calling the president, you know, what do we need to do? We left the house just kind of nonchalantly. I told my kids I love them like I always do, but that was it. Just walked out the door, hopped in the car. She, you know, dropped me off. She filled out the paperwork, and they rushed me back so I could get on oxygen. That was kind of difficult because I didn't expect her to not be able to go with me. So now I'm by myself in a room, and they took really good care of me, but, you know, without my wife being by my side, it was frustrating, you know, and it was, you know, the anxiety started getting high then. And the nurse came in, and I'll never forget, she grabbed my hand and she said, "Baby, it's time." And I could feel my whole body start to shake, and I knew the statistics of patients that went on the vent that didn't make it off, and it was not looking good in my favor. And I wasn't scared to die. I'll tell you what was going through my mind at that time was all the things I didn't say to my kids. When I left, when I left the house, you know, I left, like I said, nonchalantly, like I was going to the hospital. And one, I didn't want to scare them, so I didn't want them to see my anxiety when I did leave the house. But now, we couldn't have visitors, and I hadn't seen them in 4 days. And there was a lifetime of things I wanted to tell them. I wanted to reassure them that they were going to be okay without me, and that was difficult. That was what was going through my mind at that time. Sharon, you know, they allowed her to come in and pray with me and tell me that everything was going to be okay. The nurse came and told Sharon, "Look, we've got the paperwork started, but LSU doesn't have a bed." And that was Sharon's kind of turning point because as a nurse, she's always kind of felt in control, and now there was none. We had zero control over what was happening at that time, which, you know, in all reality, if we really think about it, you know, every breath we take is under God's control anyway. She said that, of course, I'm on the vent and I'm sedated, so I don't know what's going on, but she threw herself over my body and just cried out and said, you know, "Please don't take my husband. Please don't take my kid's dad." And it wasn't a bargain. She never bargained. She never said, "If you'll save his life, you know, I'll do this." And within 30 minutes, the nurse come running in there and said, "Sharon, we have a bed." The doctor called Sharon at about 1 o'clock in the morning, the day before Thanksgiving, and said he needs an ECMO machine now. And Sharon said, "Okay, put him on one." And the doctor said, we don't have one. So Sharon gets off the phone 1:30 in the morning, calls her brother, Jonathan McCaskill, who's a retired Navy SEAL commander, and said, Jonathan, I need an ECMO machine. They don't have one. I don't know what to do. But within hours, they had located a machine in New Jersey, and it had to be paid for. The Navy SEAL Foundation got involved just after lunch on the same day. A $38,000 machine was flown from New Jersey to Shreveport. My youngest daughter, Bree, and my mom put together two maps. One was the United States and one was the world. And they started putting pins in the map. And we have a pin in every single state and over 20 countries. So it was amazing how many people were praying for me. It started out more closely to dreams. So I had enough conscious memory to know that I was being woken up from sedation. They would check my neurofunctions, but when I would be put back under, I would go to an alternate universe. When it got to be just too much to handle, I remember kicking the bed, trying to get them to bring me back. And when I did, like for real wake up, like I had bruises all over my feet where in reality I had been kicking the bed. It took me a long time to really wrap my mind around what reality was and what, I thought reality was. And the longer that went on in my mind, the more chaos it created, the more anxiety it created. And then one time, when they put me back under, I went into just total darkness. I was nowhere really. So, I'm just there, I'm in darkness, and then something grabs my hand. And I look down and it's another hand, and that hand had a scar in it. So I immediately knew it was Jesus. And he never said a word to me at that time. We just started walking. And the further we walked, the darker it got. And it was already unexplainable darkness. It was a darkness you could feel more than see. And we get to this darkest of pits that could ever be imagined, and we stop. And he looks down at me and he says, "This is not for you. You're going to be okay." And at that moment, all anxiety left. It was unbelievable. It's undescribable peace. Just a glimpse of, what I think heaven may be like. The amount of peace that we'll have in heaven. This was just, a drop in the bucket of that. And it was right after that I started waking up. And I look around and I've got 9 tubes tied to me. I've got a double room that's completely full of machines and pumps and all of these noises of the machines going off constantly. And as much as that was going on in that room at that time, I had just unbelievable amount of peace. Before I got sick, I was riding 50 miles on my bike. And then, a month later, I'm only able to move my thumbs. And I had lost 60 pounds in 24 days. We had a long road and still have a long road that we are steadily getting better. Went to rehab. Like I said, the first day, my blood pressure went up so high when they sat me up in the bed the first day, they just laid me back down. I'll never forget the next day, I stood up for 5 seconds, and that was my physical therapy for that day. I never have asked really why this happened, because throughout this process, I've had so many people, and a lot of it was through Christmas cards. They would all start, you don't know me, but I haven't been in church for 20 years, or I haven't prayed in X amount of time. One guy claimed he was an atheist, but through my story has gotten back in church. And it's been one thing after another like that Would I want to do it again? Of course, absolutely not. But we aren't promised anything. We aren't promised health. And if what happened to me brought somebody closer to him, then it was worth it.